Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. The Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment is tackling e-waste, among others, enforcing legislative and regulatory measures to contribute to pollution reduction, resource conservation and effective energy consumption. The department is encouraging the public to recycle their e-waste and take their unused electronics to their nearest e-waste collection points. To discuss this further, we're joined by Bernice Swarts, Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. Good evening, Deputy Minister. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. So yesterday was International E-Waste Day, but before we get to the importance of the day and your call to communities, let's start with a very basic, just for the benefit of those who might not be aware. What exactly are we talking about when we talk about e-waste?
When we talk about e-waste, we are talking about communities and everybody that has electronic equipment and lighting, which we call WEEL. And the producers and of electronic equipment and public participation in the responsible management thereof. Because we all know that people buy a lot of electrical equipment, but don't know that once it is not in use, it needs to be discarded as e-waste.
Then to your call to communities to join the e-waste hunt by retrieving, as you say, recycling and reviving. Just talk us through this call. What exactly are people asked to do here?
What we are trying to do as the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment through this e-waste and its importance and why is the International E-Waste Day important? It is a global waste stream of concern due to its rapid and massive growth, presenting waste management challenges, particularly for developing countries like South Africa and the African continent as a whole. This is caused by technologically progress, higher consumption, limited repair options, shorter produce life cycles, society's growing electrification, design shortcoming, and inadequate e-waste management. Now, as the Department of the FFE, for us to be part of the Global E-Waste Monitor 2024, the world's generation of electric waste is rising 5 times faster than documented e-waste recycling. And the UN's 4th Global E-Waste Monitor reveals today worldwide the annual generation of e-waste is rising by 2.6 million tons annually. Now, for us, it's to teach the households in South Africa that we must stop hoarding unused electronics. If the iron is not working, the microwave is not working, the hairdryer is not working anymore, and even kids' toys, that we should not keep it in the cupboards and just store it in the garage, but that we are trying to put up e-waste centers where you can drop off your unused electronic goods. Now, we are even trying to set it up in the deepest rural areas, because even there, we know that we sometimes read in the media and in newspapers, especially that in the rural areas, kids would be playing in a deep freezer, lock themselves in there, and that causes death of kids playing in an unused refrigerator. So that is the type of education that we must bring out to the communities of South Africa, to know that we must recycle our e-waste, and it's very important to do that instead of keeping it. And like I've said, that in some of instances, it causes death amongst kids, because kids don't know that the refrigerator will close and they won't be able to open it and they will suffocate in it. But for us, we are saying that we need to reach the standards of the global world, where each home is giving 11 tons of waste per household, which they know that they need to drop off and recycle. Because if we can really go on a campaign and say people must bring out their old toys and everything, Fundo, you know that we'll get loads and trucks, because people don't know that we are supposed to recycle these unused goods. So for us as a department, we are really going to go on that big drive. We do have currently retailers like your Pick and Pays that have got drop-off centers, but that is also not really publicized. But we know that people will ask us, why should I take my unused goods and use my own transport and go and drop off my unused iron and toaster or anything else in a microwave? So we are also trying to look at incentives. We know that last year there was a drive and they were actually giving vouchers of 500 Rand for people to bring out their e-waste, and the response was very good. And my argument is as well that people won't just take stuff and bring them, because obviously people will tell us that it's my fuel, why should I take it? So I think that we just need to drive the education thereof and give the importance on why we should recycle. And also,
but Deputy Minister, pardon me for
us?
interjecting just in the interest of time. We know that even waste pickers or waste collectors have themselves played a huge role in this recycling drive.
Yes, they are part of the whole recycling drive. And waste pickers, you must know that as the department, in everything we do, whether we put in an incinerator like we did in Gauteng, we make sure that the incinerator is going to separate the waste that they are going to be looking for. Now, we also want to educate the waste pickers, because we know that currently some people dump their e-waste at the dumping site where you must actually dump your other waste, not the electronics. And you find that the waste pickers are also going to take that broken iron and whatever electronics. So it is also part of our program that we must also educate the waste pickers that when it comes to the electronics, how do we recycle them and where do we take them?
Now, beyond your call, you're now acting against electrical and electronic equipment producers who fail to comply. Just take us through your enforcement action.
Our enforcement action as the department is that we are really going to put this in enforcement, because the consumers, producers, civil society, e-waste collectors, the recyclers, we are going to increase the awareness. But when it comes to the producers themselves, we have put in place legislative measures that ensure that the right to an environment that is not harmful to health and the well-being is upheld. The promulgation of the Waste Management Act and the other regulations, including the Extended Producer Responsibility, which is the EPR regulations, which is the authorization and the polluter pay principle, assist in the management of e-waste. The department has also prohibited the disposal of this waste stream to landfills to ensure that its valuable materials are recycled and recovered, and also to reduce its impact on the environment, because 68,000 tons of e-waste has been recycled to the EPR schemes. This scheme is focusing on raising awareness to communities to declutter their homes and bring e-waste to the e-waste collectors and recyclers in their locations. So in terms of the legislative measures, we are going to make sure that producers abide by the legislative measures that we have put in place as the department, because we are going to go as far as charging producers if they do not comply, because we must all take the seriousness of people's health into account, including the producers. So producers can't just sell their goods and not take the responsibility of what happens when the goods are no longer in use.
No, that's quite important to hold people accountable. Deputy Minister, thank you very much for joining us on the program. That's Bernice Swarts, Deputy Minister for Forestry, Fisheries and Environment.